So we are here at News World with Angie Morris. She is the Executive Director of Schenectady County Human Rights. And she would like to speak her mind, if you give her a moment.
Well, not speak my mind, but thanks for having me on the show. I am the Executive Director of the Human Rights Commission. And what we do out in Schenectady County and the City of Schenectady is the Human Rights Commission has been in existence for 49 years, but next year will be our 50th anniversary. And what the three main roles of the Human Rights Commission is basically we're a body of 15 people, legislative mandate of the New York State executive law of the human rights law.
Okay.
The 15 people on the commission are appointed by the county legislature, but it's our job to foster mutual respect amongst all residents, nationality, creed, sexual orientation, all the protected classes within the New York State human rights laws. And then it's our job also is to inform and educate and make aware of the relevant issues that impacts the Schenectady County and the City of Schenectady. So how we go about doing that is we go out and put on community forums, and we just make folks aware of the issues that's impacting our community. But it's my job as Human Rights Director is to go out and collaborate and partner and support all local agencies within Schenectady County, and also those folks within the capital region if they need assistance in consulting with human rights. So our work in Schenectady County is really, it's big because what we do is we put on annual events to engage the community. So in January we have our annual Martin Luther King celebration that draws about 600 people.
And when is that exactly?
That's this year, January 18th, 2015.
Okay, be there.
Okay.
Wait, don't be there because we can't do calls to action. So
Okay.
don't go to that, but go to that.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we also support the state Martin Luther King's observation celebration service that's over at the Empire State Plaza. So not only we're in Schenectady County, but we also partner and support our state Martin Luther King celebration. Also, what we do too is we recognize and we honor our residents and those who works in Schenectady County or contributes to Schenectady County. We do our annual awards breakfast that draws close to 300 people out, and we recognize them in 4 categories: individual, justice, youth, and organization. Those 4 categories are people who contributes to Schenectady County. You live or you do business in Schenectady County on behalf of human rights, civil rights, so education. If you do any good work in Schenectady County or in the city, you would be recognized for your efforts in human rights, civil rights. And how we go about doing that is the nominations go out to the community to nominate in those 4 categories, and we recognize everybody who's nominated. And the day of the event, we recognize those, and then we find out who the winners are. So it's almost like Schenectady County Oscars.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
For community involvement.
Mm-hmm. Not only that, but also as
Which is better than the
director.
Oscars, I'm sorry. Screw the Oscars. Okay.
Well, my job also too as executive director is to make sure that the Human Rights Commission is represented throughout the community. So I work within our 7 school districts in the county, and also we are in we do work in our county facility, correctional facility. So we have a committee, a jail oversight committee that goes into the jail and makes sure that the rights of the inmates are protected and respected. And it's my job also to field those complaints. So in the jail, there's a hotline that they can call, and that hotline comes right to my office. And I engage and talk to the inmates, and also I do monthly jail visits, because we want to ensure that even though the inmates made bad choices, we want to still ensure that they have their rights are protected and respected. So we work with the sheriff and his administration to make sure that the rights are protected and respected within the jail, and also to make sure that the sheriff and his administration is ensuring the mission for the inmates on behalf of the Human Rights Commission.
That's great stuff right there, I'll tell you. And is there anything you'd like to say to your community in Schenectady?
Yeah, continue to work and partner with us as we go about throughout Schenectady. You know, right now, Schenectady, we have our challenges and we have our issues, but the Human Rights Commission is here for you to utilize as a community, an alternative community resource to help assist you in your needs. So you feel free to give us a call, 377-3823. And I'm glad to have that you asked me to be on the show today.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Angie, you see her, shake her hand. She's helping your community. Help her. Thank you very much. This is News World.
Thank you. Is that good?
That was beautiful.
We're here at News World today with a special guest, Dr. Alice Green. And I can't say enough good things about the work that Dr. Alice Green has done in the Albany, New York movement against injustice overall. But I'll allow Dr. Green to speak for herself.
Well, thank you for inviting me to do this. Next year, I've mentioned this, and I mention it every time I talk now, is that the Center for Law and Justice will have been operating for the last 30 years come to, 2015. And we've been working all that time to deal with all the injustices that we see, particularly in the criminal justice system. Racism, of course, plays a major role in that whole process. But what we're trying to get people to understand now is that because of the war on drugs and mass incarceration, which we see as the third major oppressive movement in this country that has unfortunately damaged to a great extent communities of color since enslavement, Jim Crow segregation, and now this third force is in operation. And what has happened is that it has led to the incarceration of so many people who are of color and poor people that the problem, unfortunately, is hidden because we've adopted this colorblind perspective, which is a myth. But what it has allowed our legislators and other people in government to hide behind that, while at the same time we're using the system to incarcerate and control people of color. So the problem is that it's been fairly well hidden, and no one with authority has acknowledged that it exists. So we have all of these people in our communities of color who are now locked out of mainstream society. They have problems with employment, they have problems with getting into educational systems, they have problems with housing, you name it. But they're locked into that system. And until we recognize officially the harm that the war on drugs and mass incarceration have done to our people, we don't see anything changing significantly.
So do you feel it is hidden in plain sight? It is happening under the guise of you mentioned fair treatment or equal partnership?
Yeah, well, in criminal justice, it's hard to point to the disparity that exists in treatment, because what people argue is, well, they committed a crime, and so therefore they're incarcerated. And it makes it sound like it's a straight line. But people are targeted because of who they are. Yes. And so they're going to be the ones who get stopped and frisked and criminalized. We found ways to criminalize people, and that's one of those colorblind coded words, but it really means people of color. And so that's what we're seeing in the system. And so, and then when the people come out, we have a way of making sure that they don't become involved, as I said, in the housing and employment. So they're in our communities, but we don't want to recognize that they're there. I just looked at some statistics from Albany, and we know we're in certain wards, you know, large numbers of these people reside, but they don't have the right. Many of them don't have the right to vote, so they're, you know, almost they're non-essential in the sense that politicians don't even pay attention to them.
Yeah.
You know, so and there are people that we don't want to get services, take part in programs and services because they are identified as criminal. And so it just makes it worse and worse. It's a new form of Jim Crow.
Yes.
You know, absolutely. Because now you can legally discriminate against them.
I'm gonna say a name now, Alice, and I want you to tell me what comes to your mind, what emotions or what thoughts comes up.
Uh-oh. I hope I know the person.
Tracy Grady.
Tracy. Oh, Tracy.
Tracy Grady.
Oh, that was a real heartbreaker. Because one of the things that the center started doing after it was formed, and the reason why it was formed, was because of the treatment that people of color received in this city by the police department.
Yeah.
Tracy Grady was the perfect example. He was so abused by the police, no one would believe him. Repeatedly,
For
yes.
years.
Yes, no one would believe him. And, you know, we developed this really great relationship. I know when he was a fugitive and they were searching for him, they found him eventually down in Georgia, and they brought him back, and he would not talk to anyone. He says, the only person I'll talk to is Alice Green.
Wow.
And so I went out to jail and talked to him, you know, and I felt so bad because I knew, you know, because he had been a fugitive, and if you do anything related to a police officer, you're dead. And that has been one of the most painful experiences for me, because there was little we could do to help out in that situation. But I think it's a perfect example of how, you know, the police, the system can identify you as someone who is threatening and dangerous, and they can make it real and happen to you. So, yeah, that was one of the, as I said, the painful experiences, and I still think about him, but to know that he's in the system and, you know,
How much time was he sentenced to?
I don't think he'll ever get out, but it was, I can't remember the exact sentence.
I mean, you think they'll keep him for life based on shooting the police officer in self-defense?
Well, of course, they didn't call it self-defense.
Yeah, they probably detected something.
So when you do that, the police officer, they find ways of keeping you in the system. I can't remember exactly what his sentence was, but it was a long one, but, you know.
I think it was a 30-year sentence, I can't remember.
Yeah, well, you know.
Because we were part of that movement,
Okay.
you know, Tori and myself and many people,
Okay.
part of that movement.
But to get out
To
is
help
another issue.
Tracy, yeah.
To get out is another.
Yeah.
The system can keep you in as long as it wants to, pretty much.
Do you feel that this correction system is actually correcting people?
Well, no, it's not a correctional system. It's a misnomer. And there's so many things within their guidelines that tell you that it's not a corrections system, and it should be called what it is. It's a prison. And it was only after Attica that they tried to, in some way, give the impression to the community that there was a change, and they started calling them correctional facilities. But we know that they're not designed to be correctional facilities, and you know, they're harmful. As I was saying a while ago, they're toxic environments, and in no way can we define them as corrective. If we really want to correct and empower people, we would have an entirely different system put into place. One that's not based strictly on punishment, but one that looks at treatment, particularly. We need to do pre-arrest diversion kinds of programs as well. But no, it's not a correctional system.
Not a correctional system, You heard it here first. We're speaking truth to power. I believe that was the term that we used.
Yeah. But see, the public is under the impression, and I think it's dangerous calling them correctional facilities because the public has been deceived. Many people that I talk to believe that once you put somebody in prison, something good is going on. This person is being rehabbed, and and it's going to provide us with public safety. So we're actually using that term and not doing any kind of corrective behavior treatment. We're actually putting the public at risk.
Yes, I've heard it said.
Absolutely.
I have heard it said by many people that from going to prison, they met other criminals who further educated them in a criminal element mentality, which when they came back out, they just went out to do other different crimes of different nature.
Yeah.
So,
and you put people in things like solitary confinement. That's scary to me because you have people, I mean, there's a lot of people in the system who have so many mental health issues, drug-related issues.
that's right.
You put these people in solitary confinement, and then they walk out the door the next day, and they're back out on the street, and nothing has been done to help them. You know, and so that puts me at risk. That puts everybody at risk.
Right.
You know, so we should be concerned. If we're really concerned about public safety, we should be concerned about what's going on in the prisons.
In the prison.
Because
Prison
that's-
reform.
yes.
Prison reform.
Well, I'm an abolitionist, so
Do you want to get rid of
I
it?
don't see any need for prisons as we know them.
You mean no more cages?
No more cages. If there are some people who are dangerous to themselves and to others for whatever reason.
I mean, they're locking people up.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
That I understand.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you have to put them in these warehouses.
Yeah.
You know, hey, if somebody's out there and they're a psychopath or whatever they happen to be, whatever the problem is, they're a threat to me.
Mhm.
I want somebody to deal with them and to treat them. You know, because most of the people who go in the system come back out. 95% of the people who are in prison come back out. And if you haven't done anything to treat them, you're putting a lot of people at risk. You know, so public safety is something that the community needs to understand. Prisons,
How can young people, or any people for that matter, find you or reach out to you and see the work you're doing?
okay. Well, I direct the Center for Law and Justice, which is located, we have an office down at 153 South Pearl Street.
Mhm.
And we also have a phone number, people can call us, which is area code 518-427-8361. And we have dealt with just about everything you can think of in terms of issues in those 30 years, so nothing will shock me.
Wow. I thank you, and I am humbled again at your
Thank you.
work, and I thank you again.
Thank you.
Dr. Alice Green.
Thank you very much.
I want to for the way challenges that they are facing, and so I am committed to doing that as well. For me, this is very personal, and so it comes from a very personal place because the person that I love most in my life, who I would lay down my life for, has a much higher chance of being incarcerated than I do or than my husband does. And for me, that's wrong. It's not, it's unjust, and that is what I'm fighting for. It's very, very personal. And so your sharing of your very personal stories with me is so important. And I am leaving in a little bit, about 15 minutes, and I want to tell you why. I'm leaving because we're taking a walking tour of Arbor Hill, which was named a great neighborhood in America. And many cynics said Arbor Hill and made disparaging remarks. And I even heard a disparaging song that was made up on the radio about Arbor Hill. And you know what? We need to have pride of place. We need for people living in our neighborhoods to have pride about where they live, who they are, and what it is, and empower them to know that it is a special place, a place that they should be proud of, that we should be proud of, and that we in government need to be working to make sure that it looks like every other neighborhood, and that it is a place of hope and love. So I'm looking forward to walking through that neighborhood and being every bit as proud of it.
We'll
we see your hands. Everybody, even the mayor got kind, so we're trying to make sure that we are fair in this process. So if you did not get a chance to talk, I whether it was sit there in the back, the sit over here, or put at the back over there, we see you, there are other sessions, we are moving it along and trying to respect everybody's time, so thank you for being patient with us. In this break, please take care of yourselves. It is a 15-minute break. Can you take that? Okay, we're going to be, we're going to let y'all know how long we have, and then when we come back, we'll continue to take that. But thank you for your patience.
Two things are one, the break is only 15 minutes, but also important note, we committed to not film this event here so that people can feel comfortable to share. However, if people do want to share, and the side where the public access TV here, and when we take statements and testimony, so feel free to go to the side where the red here in the front, feel free to go and share through this. Thank you.
That's it, yo. I think you guys came out. Oh, yeah. Public access.
We're going to talk about,
Okay.
just state your name and,
Okay, my name is Marlene Jenkins,
and talk about,
and I'm the mother of Tariq Shaw, who is a prisoner, a federal prisoner in Petersburg, Virginia. His charge was terrorism. He was arrested in 2005. Now, Tariq's life, Tariq was born a Muslim, always been a Muslim, has never in his entire life, there was never a police record. He has never been violent. His life was, his really passion in life was being a jazz musician. He traveled all over the world with various jazz musicians. He started studying when he was young with Slam Stewart. He traveled all over with Betty Carter, with Ahmad Jamal. There's a list of musicians that he traveled with. His other passion was also teaching martial arts. So he became a great martial artist. He had a school in Harlem that he used to teach young children and brothers and so forth and so on. However, I always say that his crime was being too generous, trusting everyone. And years ago, I remember being with Malcolm. Malcolm used to say to me, Sister Marlene, every person that gives you the greetings of Assalamu alaikum does not mean peace be unto you. And I used to tell that to Tariq all the time. He used to say, oh, Mommy, you know, you're a cynic. I said, no. I said, you have to be careful. Even what you're thinking, you can't always speak what you're thinking. Now, you know, we talk about the injustices in the world and so forth and so on, and he was terribly hurt of all the different things that were happening to the Muslims of the East, also the Muslims here, and he would speak about it. So the government got a whiff of it from an informant. He had an informant, a guy that he was teaching bass lessons for 3 years, and he became an informant to the government. Prior to that, I think that this guy was supposedly doing between 50 to 80 years, but they gave him, you know, they made him an informant, paid him $100,000, $200,000 to become, you know, an informant to all the Muslim brothers.
what had that man done to get himself in that trouble, in that predicament?
I think that he had committed a murder or killed someone, just like in the Yassin Aref and Muhammad Hussein. The informant he killed someone in Pakistan, and that same informant came over here and did a sting against Yassin Aref and Muhammad. And he was also convicted of a crime with the DMV, but they gave him if you become an informant, if you continue to be an informant, you know, you will not be convicted. And he's gone from that case. He did the Newburgh 4 case that these brothers were convicted of 25 years. The same brother, the same informant has been around. So I say that to say this, is that they use these sting operations, and they did it with my son. And when they arrested him, they took him for 3 days where we could not find him. Now, my daughter is an attorney, so all they had to do, they told his wife, they threatened her not to make a phone call. All she had to do is call my home or my daughter's, and we would have gotten him an attorney right away. For 3 days, we couldn't find him. We found my daughter's girlfriend, who was also an attorney. She went down to get the case, but she couldn't locate Tariq for 3 days. When she finally located him, they took him to Maryland, and they brought him back. And at that time, when they took him to Maryland, they told him that if he didn't do what they said that they wanted him to do, they arrested him on the Patriot Act and the Rendition Act. So if you don't follow the rules and do what we say, you will never see your family again, and we are capable of doing it.
These were federal agents?
Federal agents. And that was during the time that they had the Patriot, they still have the Patriot Act, the Patriot and the Rendition Act, and said, we could take you somewhere and you'll never see your family again alive. Tariq went to Maryland with them, and they wanted him to be an informant on another brother that he used to teach martial arts.
So they tried to make a chain effect of informants.
An informant.
And he refused to
And
do
he
so.
refused. When he got to Maryland, he would not do what they asked him to do. So they brought him back and told him that he would be sorry.
Hi, when I heard that there was going to be a forum on mass incarceration, I knew I had to come. There's a lot of things that, it's a huge issue for me. It really has something that I've been involved with the juvenile justice, criminal justice system for many, many years anyway. But when my son, as a teenager, was arrested, it turned it all upside down. And I saw what it was like. I saw what it's like from being a professional to being a person to really just being a number. And that's what the system does. It reduces people, our citizens, into an inmate number. I think the whole system is about reducing risk. It's supposed to be about reducing risk, but it also incapacitates people. It's not only incarcerates them, it takes away their individual freedoms, but also their freedom of thought, mind, as well. I also think that we over-incarcerate. We're at a point in this country where 30% of Americans, of adult Americans, have an arrest record. When 30% of our people are being arrested, isn't there a problem here? We so much over-incarcerate. Our rates of incarceration are higher than Russia or China or Saudi Arabia. What does this tell you? Well, to me it says, follow the money. Where is the money? The money is in the prison industrial complex. Now, there are some good people there, but the system is so corrupt and mean and violent. And they do that as a way of controlling people, but still it's not right. And as we switch over from this prison industrial complex into our evolution of what our communities, which should be built on social justice, will consist of, we have to keep in mind how are we going to do that. And what I want to do, and actually this whole experience has made me a community activist and politicized me, is that we have to shift the funds also from the prison industrial complex, and believe me, it is huge, back to the communities most impacted. And we have to be there to assist people and assist the families and assist the neighborhoods that have been impacted by investing in them and investing in people who are coming out of prison. And when we talk about solutions, number one solution, quit arresting so many people. I mean, it's a no-brainer. But when you have attorneys, when you have judges, when you have these beautiful, fancy, majestic buildings all about justice, there ain't no justice there. We have too many laws. It's way too easy to get arrested. And it has to stop. And it's only going to stop when people join each other, when we create our own communities of justice and demand that it stops.
I mean, what would you like to know about apartheid?
I would like to know what y'all know about apartheid.
All right, so apartheid, you know, is a racial system of racial segregation used to essentially create a caste system, a racial caste system, and to segregate people. And you know, it's done through the workplace. So you put particularly oppressed people in positions that are menial and don't have they have face value, but they don't have any type of meaningful impact on the institutions they're working in. Capitalism.
Whoa, you know, what he's saying sounds strangely like...
Capitalism.
Continue.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
That's it?
That's it. I mean, we can talk about apartheid for a while.
Yeah. So. Now I'm going to give you a little bit of my apartheid knowledge. Apartheid.
Please do, yeah.
Racism multiplied by like 25. Okay? Which, here's what I'm getting at. We got a problem when a company gets kicked off campus for being apartheid-based, which it was. Let's say is, right? And then gets reallowed to come back how many years later?
It's only been, I think it's been 7 years.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. Did you think we were sleeping, SUNY Albany? Who's the president of the campus now?
It's Jones, President Jones. He's new. I think he came last year.
Well, guess what, Jones? We're gonna be in your office, okay? And we're gonna take it over. You writing this stuff down? We're taking over the office, okay? No more Mr. Nice Guys.
Well, I think we got a bigger issue on campus right now than just Sodexo.
Yeah, let him know.
Yeah,
go ahead.
All right, so we have a situation on campus. I don't know necessarily. Don't want to go into too much detail about it, but a student was sexually harassed by a UPD officer, and they still work on campus. And we feel that that's a major issue and it threatens the safety of our campus. We feel that there was a lot of violations of the rights of the person. According to the Violence Against Women Act and Title IX and...
You listening, Cuomo?
Sorry?
Talking to Cuomo.
Oh, yeah. Yo, Cuomo, you just passed that, this is a big topic. You just passed that big act about violence against women on college campuses. And so now, in the same city that Cuomo is in, that he's in, there's a case of something crazy and disgusting and frightening happening right here in the city that you're supposed to be serving. And so, yeah, like, there's no type of accountability on college campuses right now, and so it doesn't matter what type of legislature that you pass, it doesn't matter unless it's enforced, and it's not being enforced on the college campus, and especially when it's a person in a position of authority, it's not being enforced, because they have the authority, and there's no type of accountability for students and oppressed people in general to fight back against that, to hold them accountable.
Nice. What are you guys going to school for?
Go to school for history and Africana studies, hopefully be a teacher or something like that, you know.
I'm a finance major and a concentration in Africana.
Awesome. These guys are going to be big.
All right, thanks for talking to us.
Absolutely.
We're gonna tear that motherfucker down.
For real.
Back to you, Joe.
I think it's very important for people here.
Okay, I'm gonna get you nice in the shot there.
Porque ese es el problema de este mundo. Dicen que los indios no existen.
Bueno.
Bueno, buenas noches.
And, rolling.
Okay. Well, good afternoon. My name is Gwendolyn Empress Hales. I am here to present a poem that was given to me upstairs at the informational community speak out that's going on right now on mass incarceration. And it is titled, As a Queen, I Proudly Declare. I am a proud black woman. I am the original woman and a true reflection of the Creator's image. My womb birthed many nations and will birth many more. I love myself deeply, completely, and unconditionally. Every inch of me is intelligent, beautiful, graceful, and amazing. I am limitless, fearless, and unique. I am a creator and an innovator. I am first focused on myself. I am not invisible. I will be heard. I will not coddle those who benefit from my oppression. I will not let my image be tarnished. I am my sister's keeper. I will stand up for myself and the ancient people whose blood gave life to me. I will ignore those who challenge these declarations because I know my worth and I see the truth. I am first a beautiful spirit with beautiful energy who was blessed with a beautiful mind and body, for my entire image is beautiful, mind, body, and spirit. I am a queen. Thank you. I read this because I think it's important for us as women to feel like this, and in order for us to make a change in the world, I think we must first celebrate who we are and uplift one another as sisters, and then that way we are able to embark our strength on our fellow man and our brothers. So I am my sister's keeper as well as my brother's keeper. Thank you.
Beautiful.
All right, see what that does.